wondering if we have any veterans here today. Yeah. Yes, or John. John. Yeah, I think we got one right here. Are you a veteran when you're still in there? Technically,
yes.
yeah, okay. Are you not, Daisy? Are you a veteran? Weren't you in the military? For some reason, I thought you were. Anyway, we're blessing veterans today. We're remembering them. I thought this being the Veterans Day weekend, it was a perfect time to talk about service and the love that motivates it. And this is also the month of Thanksgiving, which seems to be a perfect match. Because when I think of love and service, my mind goes immediately to gratitude for the veterans who have served our country so faithfully and courageously. And also that we all have, as our model, the one we call in unity, the way shower. Probably a decade ago now, some Christian kids started a craze, wearing little bracelets engraved with the letters WWJD. What would Jesus do? It was actually kind of amazing how it caught on, and for good reason. Jesus' appeal is at once universal and very personal. The medical person thinks of the great physician whose touch never failed to heal. The preacher marvels at his ability to teach spiritual truth in such a clear and down-to-earth way. The politically active person is remembering his courage in standing up to injustice and oppression. Lawyers are impressed with his gentle yet precise logic. Do you see what I mean? Literary persons rave about his mastery as a storyteller. And soldiers think of his willingness to lay down his life in defense of a principle. Jesus is the very definition of compassionate service, no matter what your religious upbringing or beliefs. How he always assured people that no matter what they had done, they were loved and could always begin again. How he healed the sick and the blind and the lame. How he challenged those who held themselves too high and raised up those who held themselves too low. How he called people out. Follow me, he said to Matthew, the wealthy tax collector. That's it. Just follow me. And Matthew closed up his business and went on the road. And I think of how he joined in fellowship and fun with his friends. Apparently, Jesus was something of a party guy who relished a good meal, a great wine, and some good conversation. Jesus came to demonstrate a life well lived, and for more than 2,000 years has stood as living testimony to the power of love. Now, after the crucifixion, Jesus' disciples were desolate. He had taught them many things, and they knew their mission was to go out and teach others. But without their mentor, they were insecure and hesitant. In the months after his death, Jesus appeared to them 3 different times to reassure them and encourage them and reinforce his most important teachings. Today I want us to take a look at the final appearance. This tale is told in the 21st chapter of the book of John, the most mystical of all the Gospels. So our story opens with the disciples on the shore of the Sea of Tiberias. And Jesus says to his friends, "I'm going fishing." And they immediately decide to go with him. Now, metaphysically, fish represent the inexhaustible abundance of divine ideas, the rich, creative substance out of which the universe is made. Divine ideas flow from the mind of God, and they are accessible to anyone who sincerely seeks them. Now, we know that everything that is manifest begins in thought. We say that every week, right? But as we've all experienced, not all ideas are of equal value. Are you with me? Manifestation that is life-enhancing and permanent can only come out of high thought and divine ideas. This kind of manifestation is always related to some aspect of wholeness, of body, mind, and spirit, and it can only come out of a consciousness that is grounded in truth, love, and wisdom. So Peter and the gang decide to go fishing, which represents their search for guidance. But after a whole night, they had caught no fish at all. They have discerned nothing. They still do not know what to do. Ever had a long night and come up in the morning feeling that way? I sure have. Then they see a man standing on the shore, and he calls out to them, "Children, you have caught nothing, right?" They admit they have not, and so he tells them to cast their nets to the right side of the boat. When they do so, their nets are immediately filled to overflowing with fish. Their minds are filled with fresh divine ideas. Now, metaphysically, the right side always represents truth. They are told to seek guidance in the principles that they have been taught. And what is this principle mainly? Love God, love yourself, and love your neighbor as yourself. The man kindly calls them children, for in their immaturity they had been fishing on the left side of the boat. They had been seeking guidance from the material world. They had been asking for concrete answers. They want to know what to do and how to do it. They are desperately seeking security. Fishing on this side of the boat, their nets, which represent their minds, have come up empty. The man on the shore tells them to seek a higher consciousness, to seek the path of love, and the minute they do, their net is filled to capacity. When we pray in desperation, out of fear and lack, when we pray for material security, we often manifest nothing. But when we change our prayer from "help, I'm drowning here," to a prayer of "show me how to be loved today," we are flooded with wisdom and divine ideas. See, the quality of everything that's made manifest through us has everything to do with the quality of our consciousness. With their nets overflowing, the disciples are amazed. And now the Apostle John recognizes the man on the shore, and he cries out, "It's the Lord." Peter is so excited, he jumps out of the boat and starts swimming to shore. The others bring the boat in. And Jesus has started a fire on the beach. He is preparing a meal of bread and fish. "Come, have breakfast," he says. "Bring me some of the fish you've caught." And he cooks for them and feeds them a nourishing meal of bread and fish. This is so powerful a moment when you understand it. Jesus feeds his disciples with bread, material substance for the care of their bodies, and fish, spiritual substance, divine ideas for the care of their minds and spirits. Jesus is showing us what it looks like to be love in action. He recognizes their need for both material and spiritual nourishment and offers both. "Come and eat," he says. "Ingest this food for your body and your mind and your spirit. Take it into your being." In other words, meditate on truth and you will know the way to health, wholeness, and prosperity. You will find within yourself the wisdom and guidance you're seeking. But the story doesn't even end there. Jesus, being love, enters into a soul conversation with Peter. He calls him Simon, the name he had as a young man. Metaphysically, the name Simon represents hearing. The power of the youthful Simon is his teachability. He is eager to hear and obey the call of love. And Jesus is definitely calling him out. He is commissioning him to go forward from this place and in the name of love, feed people everywhere. Feed them both bread and fish. Care for them physically, mentally, and spiritually. Heal, preach, teach, serve. And serve not just as Simon the young man, but as Simon Peter. Metaphysically, the name Peter represents mature, steadfast faith. Jesus is teaching Simon Peter and all of us the most important lesson of all, that faith, love, and service are inextricably interwoven. Why, faith without love can even be a dangerous thing. It can lead to coercion and argument and fundamentalism and arrogance. But love is what? Remember 1 Corinthians? Love is patient and kind, not boastful or envious or arrogant or rude. Love does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. Love rejoices in the truth. Faith and love woven together result in the most powerful and creative force in the universe. Service is the outlet, the natural outflow of this force. Before Peter understood all this, he was racked with pain and guilt. Remember, he had denied Jesus 3 times. Like most of us, he had a history of faltering under pressure, of going back over and over again to his old ways. In this story, Peter receives the key. Have faith in love. Don't waver in loving, and you will have all the strength and courage you need. Feed my lambs. Feed my sheep, he says. Serve, serve, serve. The love that Jesus teaches is a verb. It's an action word. Whatever the situation, the answer is the same. Act from love and teach truth. But what does he mean by lambs and sheep? Well, both sheep, mature souls, and lambs, young souls, represent innocence, guilelessness, and harmlessness. We are to serve those who are open and receptive. We're not to pressure or insist or proselytize, for these attitudes arise out of the ego. Love always leaves people free. It doesn't pressure or coerce anything, because love recognizes every person's sovereignty. Now, the last part of the story seems pretty cryptic. When you were younger, Jesus said, you used to fasten your own belt and go wherever you wished. But as you grow old, you will stretch out your hand, and someone else will fasten the belt around you and take you where you do not wish to go. Here, Jesus describes for us the surrendered life of a spiritually mature person. A life in which we allow love to take us where it wants to take us. We stretch out our hands, we open our arms, we give way and allow ourselves to be taken. We go where love leads us, and sometimes that's into scary places. Oh my God, I thought when that came out, boy, is that the truth. Love will always call us to change, don't you know? To grow, to give up our stubborn old ways, to allow ourselves to be vulnerable, to face our fears and become authentic. And then, as if that were not enough, Love calls us to move out of our comfort zone and into service. Calls us to care about other people as much as we care about ourselves. And the thing is, when and wherever love calls, we've got to go. When someone reaches out to us, we got to give them all that we can. When somebody's sick in body, mind, or spirit, we offer healing. Hungry, we offer food. Lost, we offer truth. But remember, we don't force these things. We wait for the request, and then we pour out the love that we are in whatever form it is needed. Yes, it seems to me that becoming authentic, compassionate, divine humans always involves taking risks. Have you noticed? When I was thinking about that, what came to mind was Robert Frost's a beautiful poem, The Road Not Taken. And I have pieces of it here, and it says, 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim because it was grassy and wanted wear, with leaves no step had trodden there. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Yeah, loving has its risks, but the payoff is tremendous. Imagine your whole life lived from an empowered heart, free to fearlessly do the next most loving thing before you with no attachment to the outcome. Wow. Peter represents you and me, wavering ones who, as our faith matures, become more and more capable of love in action. But this path is circular, not linear. Being present to our own feelings and needs, we become present to the human condition we all share. Finding first compassion for ourselves, we then become capable of offering compassion to others. Giving love, we come to see ourselves as lovers. And seeing ourselves as lovers, we give more love and service to others. I got to finish with this story. You know how, I don't know if you get these good news stories on the internet. You might have heard this one. About the New York teacher who decided to close out her last day of class for her high school seniors by bringing each one of them individually to the front of the room and one by one telling them exactly how they had contributed to her well-being and the well-being of the class over the past year. She pinned on each student a blue ribbon that said, "Who I am makes a difference." Then she gave each of them 2 extra ribbons and commissioned them to go out and find 2 people to do the same for.